a composer whose work has touched me ever since I first heard it. And in the new album, Artists in Residence, it is my favorite song. The reason is because this song sounds like a song not only about COVID, but also something that an Alzheimer or dementia patient that is just getting Alzheimer or dementia would sing. I'm talking about Adam Gwon, and we are here with him, and I'm very excited.
Hello.
Hi. Your song, Seriously, is my favorite song on the album.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
I think that it's haunting. I think really it's not just a COVID song, but it's a song about someone possibly losing their memory, and this is what
Mm.
would happen. Can you tell me how you came up with this song?
Yeah, it came very much from this particular activity I started doing during the quarantine, which is walking through my neighborhood, which sounds like such a mundane thing to do. But as I started taking these quite long walks, because I had the time, frankly, um, I started taking these long walks and realized that there were all of these nooks and crannies and corners and streets of my neighborhood that I had never really seen. I was always so focused on, the fixed path between my apartment and the subway or my apartment and the grocery store. I always traveled the same roads in my neighborhood, and it was uh, eye-opening to see that even in my own neighborhood, a place that I thought I was so familiar with, there in fact was all of this foreign territory, all of this mystery, all of these unknowns. So the inspiration for the song really started from that place, and like you say, sort of feeling like I was getting lost in a place that used to be very familiar to me, and that feeling seemed to reverberate outside of this experience of walking in my neighborhood to the larger experience of COVID and the quarantine, and like you say, I think could translate into other life experiences as well.
You chose Patina Miller to sing your song. How did
I
that
did.
come about?
I had done a workshop of a show with Patina a couple of years ago, and when I wrote this song, she is the first person that popped into my head to sing it. She was kind of the dream, and so I emailed her just to see if she might be game to do it, and happily she was. She recorded it, I think, in the closet of her apartment, and as you can hear, her performance is just amazing. So I'm so happy that she was able to do it.
How did you get asked to become a part of the album?
I knew Andrew Gerla, who is the mastermind behind this album. He is a fellow composer, and I just know him from the musical theater world. And he sent me an email that said he had gotten this idea to create an album that could raise some funds for writers and performers who suddenly found themselves out of work in the midst of the shutdown. And he had partnered with Broadway Records, which is a record label that I had worked with before. So it just seemed all of these threads just seemed to come together, and I said yes right away because it was a project that felt really close to my heart.
What have you been working on since COVID?
It's been a mix of things. I've been continuing to work on projects that I've been working on, hopefully to be ready on the starting line once the theaters open back up. So trying to keep energy focused on those projects that have been postponed. And also, I've gotten a chance to um, dip my toe into some of this sort of virtual theater world, looking at some projects that had existed and reimagining them for this new digital format, which is how people are consuming theater for the time being. I've been working with a wonderful director and an Emmy Award winning production designer, putting together a sort of virtual hybrid live slash film edited production of an older show of mine called Ordinary Days.
I love
Um,
that.
oh, thank you. And also been looking, there's a piece that I've been working on with the writer-director Lisa Peterson and Raul Esparza. And we got invited by Berkeley Rep out in California to kind of think about a digital reimagining slash experimental exploration of this musical as part of their upcoming digital season. So been having some fun figuring out what
Ooh,
this new world means. What's
Raoul,
that?
Raoul doing Ordinary Days.
No, it's a different show. That one, that's a piece called The Waves, which we had all worked on up at New York Stage and Film a couple summers ago. Um, uh, so yeah, having some fun figuring out what the possibilities are of this new Zoom digital format for us
I
all.
think I think we're going to be there for a while,
I,
actually.
I think you're right. I think you're right, for better and for worse.
Yes, exactly. When you're doing Ordinary Days, will it be the same cast that was at Playwrights?
No, a different cast actually. We partnered up with the Pittsburgh Playhouse, so it'll be
Oh,
part of their upcoming season. And yeah, they're doing some. We're sort of in the midst of figuring out how it all will work logistically. But this designer Jason Ardizoni West has some really cool ideas that involve building a an actual set, in the theater space that actors can perform on one at a time, but then that serves as sort of a blank canvas to be able to do editing things on the film side, to have actors be together, um, but also keep it in sort of an abstract kind of theatrical language. So it's almost created like a film, but hopefully the experience of it still feels very theatrical and like something that would happen on stage. So I think it's exciting what he's up to.
where do you come from when you write a song?
That is a good question. I think it's different from song to song. When I'm writing a standalone song like "Find My Way Home" from the Artist in Residence album, I would say most of those songs definitely start from a personal place, a nugget of personal experience, some kind of very personal springboard. When I'm working on a musical, I think it's a combination of that personal experience and whatever material I'm working with in terms of, if I'm collaborating with a playwright who's writing a script or adapting characters from a novel or a film, sort of combining that source material with my own personal experience to find something I connect to very strongly with those characters, so that I feel like I'm writing something that comes from an honest and real place that's connected somehow to my own personal experience.
Who in, who influenced you musically?
The album that made me want to be a musical theater writer was Audra McDonald's very first album,
I love it.
which, yeah, it came out when I was in college, and so I was already interested in musical theater. I loved musical theater, but that album in particular introduced me to what at the time were this new generation of musical theater writers, people like Adam Guettel
Yeah.
and Jason Robert Brown, Michael John LaChiusa. And when I heard the work of those composers, they were really doing things with musical theater that I hadn't heard done before. It was sort of unlike the musicals that I had grown up with and that I was getting to study and perform in college. So it was that album and the composers on that album that got me really excited about what musical theater could do, and I was hooked from then.
No, it's interesting that you bring up those three composers because I would put you in that category of those three.
Oh, that I take that as a huge compliment.
And
Thank you.
for me, it is a massively huge, because I think that they go in different places
Mhm.
that touch your heart,
Yeah,
that sink in. I would put Sondheim in that category.
for sure. Yeah.
Um, but I love what you do. I think that your music just touches me in such a way.
Oh, thank
Uh,
you.
you're welcome. I was very excited to interview you because
Oh, thank you. That
I
means a
fell,
lot.
I fell in love with Ordinary Days. I saw it and I reviewed it and I was like, Rain!
Oh, yay.
Because again, it was like something new and something exciting, not trying to be, but is, if that
Mm.
makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, what singers would you like to work with?
Oh my goodness. Um, oh gosh, there's so it's funny the story about the Audrey McDonough album because I that dream came true of her singing and recording one of my songs actually from Ordinary Days. So I feel like I'm set. I
That's
got the
part.
Audrey McDonald recording. I can go home happy. Um, uh, but no, I think there are so many fantastic, fantastic singers out there. I'm a huge Kelly O'Hara fan. I just think her voice and her interpretations of songs are fantastic. That would be another dream. Um, uh, yeah, I think she's pretty high on my list as well.
They say that eyes are the windows to the soul,
Mm.
but I think songs are. So if you were to choose a song or a series of songs to describe who you are, what would that be?
Oh wow. There is a really fantastic songwriter who's not a musical theater songwriter, but a guy named Sufjan Stevens, who's sort of like an indie pop folk. His work spans a lot of genres. But I remember the first time I heard his work, something in me just like the soul antenna kind of like went up. I was like, this feels, I don't have the words to explain how or why, but this music and these songs and the things that they're making me uh, feel like they are me. This feels like me. I see my soul in in these songs. And I think I discovered his songs maybe like the early 2000, like 2004, 2005, somewhere around then. And he's come out with a number of albums since then, and every single time I have that same feeling. So if I had to pick the windows to my soul, I would say the work of Sufjan Stevens.
That's the most interesting answer I've ever gotten on this. And it's my favorite question.
It's a great question.
Well, I just
Yeah,
that you learn about people. You
yeah,
learn who they are through that. And I think, in doing interviews, isn't that what they're about, is learning about the person.
yeah.
Um, it's going to be a very long time before I think theater comes back to theater.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to young people right now who are trying to who their careers were about to soar and not anymore?
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
I think I would give the same advice that I'm trying to give myself, which is just to hang in there and keep thinking and working and dreaming in anticipation of that moment that we come back. Because I think my heart and soul belong to the stage, and as much as I do work in this new digital realm and trying to think of things, for a different kind of medium, everything I do is sort of hoping that it's one step closer to getting back to being in a theater live in front of an audience in a room full of people. Um, so I think hang on to that. Don't let it go. And in trying to figure out how you are reinventing the way to express yourself in this moment, um, let it feed that desire and those dreams for being back on the stage again, because I think ultimately it will. Um, it feels sort of like a detour right now, but I think we're gonna learn things and have experiences that are gonna help us grow as people and as artists, and we're gonna bring all that back to the stage when we're finally allowed to be there. So to keep that stage on your radar, I know I for sure am trying really hard to do that, and still consider myself writing for the stage, even though that's not exactly possible at this very second.
I think that the word of what you just said that jumped out at me was anticipation.
Mm,
I think that's a brilliant word to hang on to for right now.
yeah.
Um, what would you like to do that you have not accomplished?
Mm, that is another great question. Um, I would love to have a show on Broadway. I've been sort of an off-Broadway kind of guy, which I love, and I love the
Your
intimacy of
cult.
that. Yes, exactly. But I think there's nothing like Broadway and seeing a Broadway show, and that I love Broadway, and so that's a dream of mine that I still have. Um, and yeah, I think the one thing that I love about writing for musical theater is that it involves so much collaboration. Um, and I think there are a number of um, collaborators out there that I'm just dying to meet and work with, even if I don't know who they are yet. Just the possibility of collaboration is something that fuels me. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that as well, once the theater returns.
I'd like to see you and Stephen Levinson collaborate.
Oh, I think that is a great combination, and I know Stephen because we both sort of came from the Roundabout underground program. Like we were both nurtured by the Roundabout Theater, so
I
yeah,
think
he's pretty
you two
wonderful.
have the same sensibility.
Yeah.
I could see that. Um, trying to think of what else I'd like to know. I know. Is there anything that we haven't asked you that you would like our listeners to know about?
Oh my goodness. Um, hmm. Not that I can think of. I think you asked some really great, really great questions. I feel like I got to
I told you
offer a
I
lot.
really wanted to interview you. I'm a fan. I'm definitely a fan.
Oh, well, I really appreciate that.
And when I played your song for people, my friends were like, "Of course, this is your favorite song." No, I like lyrical. I like things that are extremely lyrical,
Yeah,
and that go in different places. But then resolve.
yeah.
Your music does.
Oh, well, thanks.
Thank you so much for being with us,
My
and
pleasure.
I look forward to everybody else experiencing your music.